Just want to share a quick little insight from my study of General Conference this morning. While I was working out of the gym, I was listening to the April 1934 General Conference, and Elder John H. Taylor was speaking. This is the grandson of President John Taylor, and he was speaking about our faith in Jesus Christ and in the gospel, and specifically also in the restored church. And he talked about how there are various things that we could do that would help that faith and stabilize it, and various things that would destabilize that faith. And he mentioned that there was one vital thing that we could do to stabilize our faith in the work, and that was to never lose our confidence in our leaders. And I like the way he put it, because he said he would be the most miserable of men if he was to sit in the pews at General Conference and be asking himself as every speaker spoke, now is he speaking under the inspiration of the Spirit, or is this just a man? And he's just like, I have found that when I follow the leaders of the church, if I do that which is wrong, then I still end up better off as a whole, because the majority of the time they are going to give wise counsel. And where their counsel does fall short, their counsel as a whole is still better, because we have that assurance. We have the assurance that they will mess up, but that messing up is within the acceptability of the Lord. He will never allow them to mess up so bad that they lead the church astray. And I think this is really illustrated in the Prophet Joseph Smith and the 116 pages. Yes, he was able to mess up. Yes, it was a big issue, but it was within the framework of what the Lord had already in the plan as acceptability. He had a backup already in place. He had the rest, the rest of the Book of Mormon to make up for the 116 pages that were lost. And I think that he really highlights this when he just talks about the need for us to follow the prophets, and that when we judge the prophets, we are going to lose confidence in them. When we lose confidence in them, we're going to murmur against them, and eventually we will fall. It reminds me of when Marion G. Romney was called to be an apostle. He stood up and he said, I believe in following the prophet. And I also believe that if you judge the prophets, it's a very risky gamble to make, because in D&C 121, the Lord basically says that if you misjudge a prophet, then you lose your exaltation. And he goes, that seems like a pretty steep price to me. And so with that being the price for misjudging a prophet, I'd rather err on the side of believing the prophet, even if they are mistaken, because I'm going to be all right. And I think that that illustrates the principle. We should assume the prophet is telling us the right thing. We should pray for confirmation, and we should seek for the Lord's specific guidance to us, because sometimes we are an exception to the rule. But the majority of the time, 99.9% of the time, we are either going to get a confirmation that we need to follow the prophet, or we will not receive an answer whatsoever. At which point, we have to ask ourselves, what is our default? Are we defaulting to obedience or disobedience? And my recommendation is, if in doubt, follow the prophet.